Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. We're going to build on yesterday's program a little bit, or at least talk about the same thing. We're going to talk about fear. But the person we're going to talk about today is Pilate. As the Lord went through his crucifixion, I want to talk about 3 or 4 aspects of where perhaps Pilate was afraid. The first one is in Matthew chapter 27 at verse 19. It is the account where Pilate's wife sends him a message that says, have nothing to do with that innocent man. She had suffered many things in a dream that day because, as it says, because of him. I wonder what Pilate told his wife when he got home. Because he didn't listen to his wife. He may have tried to get the Lord released, but he didn't try as hard as he could. And we know what happened, of course. I wonder if Pilate was afraid to go home and tell his wife what had happened. I wonder what sort of dreams she had that night after the events of the day. You might think about it. Also, here in Matthew chapter 27 at verse 24, Matthew chapter 27 verse 24, it says that he could not prevail at all, but rather a tumult was rising, that the crowd was starting to get boisterous, if you will. What Pilate was, he was a politician, and he was afraid of the crowd. That's just simply what was happening. He was afraid of the crowd. He was afraid that it was not going to be a peaceable thing anymore, as much as a crucifixion could be called peaceable, but he was afraid of the crowd. And he gave in because of the crowd's uprising. A lot of folks do the same. You might think about that as well. But along with being a politician, he was too politically minded. In John chapter 19 at verse 12, it says, as the people cried out to him, if you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. And when he heard that, of course, he went along with their wishes. He was afraid of Caesar. He went along with the crowd. And he, out of fear of the crowd, but also out of fear of Caesar, he went along with wickedness. That's what he did. He aligned himself. He knew that Jesus was innocent, and he knew that Jesus was being delivered out of envy. He knew that Jesus was a just man. He went along with wickedness because he was too politically minded. He was afraid of Caesar. Consider it. The last one I wanted to consider is here in John chapter 19. Here in John 19, start reading at verse 7. It says, the Jews answered him, we have a law, and according to our law he ought to die because he made himself the Son of God. And then the verse I hadn't considered before, it says, therefore when Pilate heard that saying, he was the more afraid. He recognized Jesus was a good man, but the question was just how good. And that's what Pilate had trouble recognizing, as he was even the more afraid when he heard the business about being the Son of God. He goes on and he washes his hands before the crowd. He thought that somehow made him innocent in the whole thing. It surely did not. I wonder how afraid he was as the Lord gave up his spirit and all of a sudden there was an earthquake and the grave started opening. I wonder if Pilate was afraid then. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this study. God bless you. Be a blessing to others. We'll see you tomorrow morning.